No niin. Dagon Street. Vaikka tonne.
The Wizard's Pleasance was a small, newt-haunted meadow in a horseshoe bend in the Ankh, inside the grounds of the Unseen University, separated from it but connected to the university gardens by the Bridge of Sighs. On summer evenings, if the wind is blowing towards the river, it is a nice area for a stroll. The Pleasance was cut off from the city by a tall exterior wall. I couldn't easily scale the wall. The Pleasance was full of dense bushes. I could hide in the bushes, but for how long? I'd need to know that the next murder was definitely going to be here before I did that. On a good day, the Pleasance was apparently a nice place for a walk. Presumably today was not a good day.
Okei. Täällä ei oo sitten vielä mitään.
The moon over Dagon Street lit the rundown alley. It didn't look like anyone was around. It was as abandoned as the Octarine Parrot on open stage night. One of the shops in the street was called the Three Jolly Luck Takeaway Fish Bar. I remembered that name from somewhere. Something to do with Mr. Hong. I remember he went missing somehow. I wasn't about to take the sign. The abandoned fish bar was boarded up tight. I couldn't pull the boards off with my hands. I didn't like to transform in the streets. You never knew who was watching. Where I'd pulled away the boards was an open window. The fish bar was littered with assorted debris. Amongst the debris, I found a bone that seemed a little out of place. The bone seemed out of place somehow. I wasn't sure why. I didn't want to take the bone. It was bad enough that I'd been carrying around some dead troll's tooth all this time. The fish bar was full of cooking pots, only to be expected, I guess. I don't know what the last thing cooked here was, but it seemed to have been prepared recently. There was a disturbing dark magenta scent in the fish bar, something that resonated with cosmic evil. It scared me. It scared me that anything could have such a disturbing scent. And it scared me that I could tell what color cosmic evil was. There was definitely some similarity between the magenta and dark magenta scents, but it wasn't clear to me what that connection might be. The dark magenta scent was
Everyone on the disc knows the legend of Eleanor of Tzot. Or at least everyone knows a legend of Eleanor of Tzot. Or Krinix. Or El Harib. Ask most people and they'll tell you that she was the cause of the Tzotian Wars. Of course, ask most people and they'll tell you the patrician is a kind and benevolent man. Never trust what most people tell you. The real cause of the Tzotian Wars was a little-known goddess called Errata.
There was a flyer left behind on one of the seats. I'd picked up the theater flyer from the Disc Theater. It told me about the plays in the Disc's current season. The 8 plays in sequence were The Happy Prince of Copperhaven, Antilogy and Cleopatra, Kensington, The King of Ankh, The Leering King, The Tyrant, Truculus and Cressylic, and Titus Diplodocus. The flyer didn't tell me anything about them, though. The stage, where performers go up in front of a drunken crowd and sell their dignity to earn enough money to barely live on. It made me think that all the discs a stage and all the people players. Unfortunately, I felt like I'd been cast as an extra in my own life story. The pompous windbag on the stage was Previtier. He went beyond being a ham. He had 2 eggs, fried mushrooms, and a gigantic rasher of bacon. That's pretty good. You've been acting long?
One is either born an actor, or one is never an actor.
Yeah, I can just see you paddling about the womb with a script in hand.
Do you doubt my credentials as the disc's premier performer of dramatic scenes?
As far as I'm concerned, one actor is as good as another. You come on, you speak your lines, and then you get killed. How hard can it be?
Here I stand, your slave, a poor, infirm, weak, and despised old man. Do you slight me such?
What?
You are not abreast of Hwell's fair pen, then, stranger.
The name's Luton. And no, I don't know Hwell's work at all.
My name is Previtier, and my realm is that of tragedy and comedy. The finest arts are my purview.
Yeah, if you say so. So you're an actor?
It is my calling to tread the boards, and for this I am called an actor.
Translation, yes. Why do you talk like that?
When one is blessed with silk, one does not wear cotton.
What's that supposed to mean?
You are not familiar with the ways of the theater, are you, my boy?
No. I always thought it was about getting killed in a different way every night.
Well, that's part of it. But it's also about the lines, the pomp and the circumstance. Men in skirts. Yes, yes. The play's the thing.
To catch the cash flow of the dim.
You disapprove? A man must his living make.
If he could make it with decent grammar, I wouldn't mind.
You should come and see the spectacle. Perhaps then you would cast less scorn upon our merry ways.
You want me to go to see a play?
Come to hear the wooden dialogue.
That's not much of a quote.
It was the best I could do at short notice.
What's playing at the moment?
Truculus and Cressylic. The tale of the frailty of woman and the stupidity of a man in love.
With a lot of bloody deaths thrown in for good measure.
But of course.
Tell me about the plays.
Would that I had the time to sing the praises of all Hwell's masterworks. But time is short and life is fleeting.
Just tell me about the plays.
Our current season is a groundbreaking interpretation of Hwell's most famous works, pushing back the boundaries of art and style.
Groundbreaking?
'Tis a term we of the noble calling use to describe the way each generation improves and expands upon the themes laid bare in the soul by inspiration.
In other words, your murder scenes look more and more realistic every year.
The triumph of effects.
Unfortunately, the triumph of effects over plot.
The plots are as entrancing as the day they were first written.
In other words, you haven't had any new ideas in decades.
If the way is true, why err from it?
I had a feeling. Do these bandages mean anything to you?
I can't help.
What can you tell me about this flyer?
Ah! The proud harbinger of our festivities, the page that trumpets the act that illuminates the soul.
That inhabits the body that slept on the seats that sat in the theater that shoddy carpenters made.
Do you mock me, my boy?
Oh, you're way ahead of me on that one. A man named Mundy was killed recently.
Slain amidst the bright flags of peace, eh?
Well, hung upside down in his room with his eyes plucked out, actually.
Indeed. It reminds me of Will's epic, The Leering King. Ah, such sweet sorrows.
What's that supposed to mean?
It means that the gods exploit our weaknesses to show us our faults.
More like the gods exploit our weaknesses because it's a bit of a laugh.
There may be truth in what you speak.
No se oli vähän niinku ajatus, mutta eihän mun mikään pakko sinne ole tulla.
I gave Carlotta's description to Pravitier and asked him if she'd been around the theater.
Indeed, I have seen that young flower amongst the audience. She comes often and stays unto the end. I oft find myself musing as to what it is that draws her back.
You wonder why she bothers to come back? So, you're admitting that the plays aren't very good.
As good as they are, this young lady has been back to see the same play many times. And she is not alone. There are several such regulars. But perhaps these fine souls sense that the magic of each of the plays is timeless.
I suspect there's more to it than that. Can you describe any of the others?
Alas, only the lady's visage is burnt across my eyes like the dawn's first light.
No se oli ainakin mun suunnitelma kyllä tälle viikonlopulla.
Do you know a woman named Ilsa or a man named...
My dear boy, I can assure you...
What do you know about a dwarf named Alkali?
My dear boy, I can assure you that I do not know them.
Meinaatko se Criminal Mindsia?
Have you heard of the counterweight killings?
Ah, a terrible state of affairs, a tragedy.
But do you know anything about it?
I know it's been very good for the gate receipts.
Has anything unusual happened around here recently?
Who am I to say what is usual and what is an aberrance of nature?
Believe me, if I had someone else to ask, I would.
The closest to an unusual occurrence was when Lucius, miserable souse that he is, missed the role in Titus Diplodocus.
Missed his role?
He was supposed to be playing Canapé, but he didn't turn up. I don't know where he is.
Where he is? He still hasn't turned up.
Probably afraid we're going to eat him alive when he finally drags his sorry carcass back here.
Do you know anything about the dwarf who rode his carriage off the Magdalen Bridge the other week?
Indeed, I do not. I trust he was not a friend of yours.
No, I
Sitä
didn't
paitsi
know.
meillä on Burnout
His name
vielä
was
kesken.
Reagan.
Reagan, I did not know
Joo,
him.
kyllähän me
Although I
voidaan
thank you for the
vuotakin
news
katsoa.
all the same.
You thank me for the news?
Though it be honest, it is never good to bring bad news.
Did the other children beat you up when you were little? There was a murder up in the rooftops recently. A troll named Malachite was stabbed to death. Did you hear about that?
I know naught of stabbings, save the foul betrayal in The Tyrant.
The Tyrant? A play?
We performed it but recently. Ah, the grandeur of the stage. Cry havoc and let slip the dogs of war.
The Dogs of War?
In the play, the tyrant leads an army of dogs into battle, but they kept slipping all over the place because of the general muddiness.
Does he win?
Well, in the end, he's betrayed by his closest ally and stabbed to death by the people of Ephebi.
Doesn't sound like much of a victory.
No, but it's a glorious death. Et tu, Cletus. Pure poetry.
Have you heard of Errata?
But, of course, the architect of the Tsortian Wars, the origin of our little play tonight.
How come?
Being the goddess of misunderstandings, Errata's popularity is lacking. And she feels slighted by not being invited to a certain wedding. So she plans a devious vengeance, which in turn causes the Tsortian War.
And is it based on a true story?
Everything is a truth of a sort.
Is that a yes or a no?
I am not one to judge such things.
I couldn't... Do you know a troll by...
My dear boy...
Seen any strange beasts around here?
Not since the transmogrification scene in Dream of Somewhere Near the End of Spring last year.
That's not very helpful. Have you heard about any merchants being murdered recently?
But of course, one was slain in this very theatre only days ago.
Really?
At the climax of Kensington, the merchant is strangled by his very wife. It was very dramatic.
The murder was in the play?
I would not take such pleasure in a real murder, my boy.
To mourn a mischief that is past and gone is the next way to draw new mischief on. Couldn't you just say, bad things cause other bad things?
One must embrace the beauty of language.
Well, ease up on the hug, Privitier. I think the language needs to breathe a little. There was a murder at Unseen University recently. The reader of esoteric occultism was killed. Do you know anything about that?
Alas, no. But all that must live must die. Passing through nature to eternity.
Remind me not to invite you to my next party. Did you hear about the murder of the patrician's clerk?
Ah, the patrician. Uneasy lies the head that wears the crown.
I don't think he ever wears one, but I'll take that as a no. Tell me what you know about golden swords.
Alas, I know of but one such blade, the falchion from Troculus and Chrysalic.
The falchion was a slightly curved sword, cast in gold.
Well, the real one would be if it existed. Our prop is an old table leg whittled to a point.
Interesting.
About the prop? We have many other props, you know.
I meant what you said about the sword was interesting. I think it was the blade that killed me the other week.
You look surprisingly well for a cadaver, my boy.
Well, they don't make murders like they used to.
Oh, I know what you mean.
Is there a gold-plated jewel in any of the plays?
Not that I'm aware of, dear boy. But Clef Patare is described as the jewel of the jelly, if that's any help.
What happens to her?
She gets bitten by an ass. It's very moving.
Yeah, I bet it gets the audience moving for the exits. Does dead men...
I can't help...
What would you say if I told you I suspected people are being murdered to summon a terrible entity to destroy the city?
I would say, doomsday is near, die all, die merrily.
That's from one of these silly plays, isn't it?
The King of Ankh, Act 4, Scene 1.
I was serious, you know. The disc might be the focal point for infernal forces that could destroy the city. I'd enjoy talking to you a lot more if you'd just stop quoting those damn plays. Do you realize how pathetic this makes you look?
What? Must I hold a candle to my shames?
You know, I think I'll be
Eli
glad if this
Vampire
place does
Diaries.
get destroyed by horrors
Tai
from beyond
sitten se
time and space.
True
It'd be
Blood.
great publicity. Should I tell them how to spell my name?
What would you say if I told...
I would say...
Do you...
What? Must I...
You know...
It'd be... Should I tell them how to spell my...
I didn't want... They'd think...
I couldn't possibly... I couldn't...
Well, I have...
Ah! Party!
Whatever. I need your...
That
Does an octagram of murder...
it means death and torment to everyone around it.
That's encouraging. Does this symbol mean anything to you?
Yes. But I had best not discuss it with you.
Why not?
I don't want anyone.
That doesn't help.
I can't tell.
I'll have to... The truth.
Trust.
I quickly transformed into a wolf and had a sniff around. There was an eerie, dark magenta scent in the theater. But what caught my attention was the magenta scent that seemed to disappear into the stage. My murderer had been here. Where the scent had disappeared, there were some marks. I couldn't quite make them out, but they seemed to be a definite shape of some kind. I ran my finger around the marks casually. There was something about them that made you want to trace things on them, like a smiley face or a tic-tac-toe board. Well, something like that. Maybe something a little more sinister. In the past, I traced the sign of the eel across the marks, exactly as I'd learned how to do in the Libraris Apocrypha. There was a faint click, and the next thing I knew, there was a passageway under the stage.
Ja kaatu. No, testataan uudestaan. Ei tietenkään mitään autotallennuksia.
Everyone on the...
I quickly... There was an...
No, vanhat pelit on tällaisia. Mä oon vähän miettinytkin, että koska tää kaatuu. En tiedä toimiks te... Jos tää nyt ei tälläkään kertaa toimi, niin sit mun täytyy käydä katsomassa, että miksi se vikaa. Ja voinko mä tehdä asialle jotain. Voi hyvin riittää sekin, että skippaa vaan ton välianimaation tossa.
I traced...
Näin. Pitää vaan jutella ton tyypin kanssa vielä uudestaan. Ja sitten käydä siellä kalaliikkeessä.
The whole sepulchral temple seemed to be formed from curves and angles that would give geometry teachers nightmares.
Tallennetaan vielä kerran uudestaan.
The centerpiece to this disturbing chamber was a stone altar, engraved with a map of the Circle Sea. It looked centuries old, the kind of altar that could tell a few tales if it could talk. I was glad it couldn't. The map of the Circle Sea seemed to be the only interesting feature of the altar. I knew that Nylon Athatep had been summoned by an octagram of murders around the Circle Sea, but I didn't know where those murders had taken place. It didn't look like anyone. Amongst the debris, I found a bone. The bone seemed... I didn't want it. It was... There was a disturb... It's... The wizard's presence on some... I could hide. I'd need to know that the next murder was definite. I knew the sites for all of the murders. Mind if I ask? Well... Who would... I'd like... Very... I looked up Hwell in the library and found his complete works. In there was a discussion of the 8 great tragedies, Hwell's bloodiest works. From the About the Author paragraph, I learned that Hwell was a dwarf who was banished from his tribe not only because of his claustrophobia, but because of his tendency to daydream. Both undesirable, to say the least, if you work in a mine. 102, and in the prime of his life for a dwarf, Hwell now worked for Vittler's Plays at the Disc Theatre as one of the premier playwrights of the day. The 8 great tragedies were given in great detail. 8 plays, each with a collection of murders, usually with one more particularly gruesome or grotesque than the others, presumably for use in publicity trailers. The publicity trailers helped draw people into the theater by being towed around town to display posters. There was something suspiciously familiar about some of those murders. The 8 great tragedies were still in the complete works of Hwell. Well, it wasn't like they were going anywhere. Cheery collection of plays. In Titus Diplodocus, Titus was responsible for dismembering and eating various people before meeting his own grisly demise. In almost all the other plays, the lead met a horrible end. The Happy Prince of Copperhaven, who was poisoned at the end, and Trilogy and Cleopatra, who were stabbed and poisoned by an asp, respectively. Kensington, who was strangled by his wife. The Leering King, who had his eyes gouged out. The Tyrant, who was stabbed repeatedly in the back. And Truculus and Cresselik. He gets dragged through the streets of Sort until dead, and she is one of the tiny handful of protagonists to actually survive one of Hwell's action-packed blockbuster murder fests. If they held a Protagonists of Hwell's Tragedies annual reunion, the only other person there would be the lead role in The King of Ankh. The map of the circle. Using the map, I worked out where each of the 8 great tragedies had taken place. They made an octagram around the edge, just like the counterweight killings did in Ankh-Morpork. I could match each of the tragedies to one of the murders, and the positions corresponded precisely. I knew that someone was going to get dragged to death from the Wizard's Pleasance, and that some unlucky fellow was going to get eaten in Dagon Street. I had a feeling I knew what had bothered me about the bone in the fish bar now. It was a human femur. That meant there was only one murder to go, and that it would take place at the Wizard's Pleasance. Someone was definitely following me. I wasn't an expert on dogs, but I thought that this black thoroughbred dog was a Klatchian. Small. I thought about petting. I didn't know how long I'd have to wait until something happened, but it turned out to be less than I thought. I'd suspected I'd been being followed, and I wasn't surprised to find that Al-Kali was skulking around behind me. Gods alone knows how he got into the university, but if I could do it, I guess anyone could. It was over in seconds. I was about to follow the killer's trail when I saw a familiar face.
Why did you carry on with the case, Luton?
Too many people told me to stop.
I was hoping it wouldn't come to this. I like you, Luton. It didn't have to be this way.
So you're behind this, are you?
I'm just a servant. My master, Anu, is behind this.
That beast is Mooncalf's god?
Mooncalf didn't start this cult. I did. When the last human worshippers of Anu had passed on, leaving only an empty temple in their wake, the cult lived on among the lycanthropes. My late husband got me involved, and I came back to Ankh-Morpork to arrange everything.
Came back?
I thought you'd realize, Luton. I'm Therma.
It figures. You killed Malachite, didn't you?
I didn't kill any of them. My master did that. We just arranged everything for him. He's stronger when we gather together and pray.
You were in the Temple of Small Gods each time there was a murder.
It was a perfect alibi.
Why was Malachite looking for you?
I'm his sister.
His sister? Hands up who can spot the big problem here.
I was adopted by Mr. and Mrs. Karst. They named me Therma. And Malachite and I grew up together.
What happened?
It's a tough life when you're a poor troll. And tougher still when you weren't born a troll. I used to sit at the table eating bread, while the rest of the family was chewing cold sandwiches. That kind of thing leaves its mark on a girl.
My heart bleeds for you.
Malachite and I broke into the von Uberwald mansion and made off with some of the Count's valuables, including that pendant you've been carrying around.
And that jeweled box in the carriage that presumably held the asp that poisoned Reagan.
That's right.
How did you and Malachite get separated?
He got caught, but he didn't tell the watch about me. I thought I'd seen the last of him. I sold most of what I got, and I was living off it comfortably. But I'd seen that painting in the hallway, and it got me thinking.
The painting that looks like you?
Exactly. I reinvented myself as a debutante, and I seduced Ulrich and married into high society. I went back to Uberwald with him, changed my name to Carlotta, and my life as a troll was forgotten. Therma was dead. Long live Carlotta von Uberwald.
Did you know Ulrich was a werewolf?
Not until the honeymoon. That was a surprise, I can tell you. Not entirely an unpleasant one, I have to say.
How did you get involved in this cult business?
Before he died, Ulrich inducted me into the worship of Anu, and it became my mission to engineer his return to power. I recruited followers and we prayed to him, gradually awakening his consciousness. He'd been stuck in the form of a small dog on the streets of Al-Kali for decades, not even remembering who he was. As our numbers grew, Anu's power grew, and eventually he was able to slip aboard a ship and steal his way here to Ankh-Morpork.
The Milka.
That's right. The Milka also stopped off at Sort, where it picked up Mundi. He was supposed to be bringing us the Sortese falchion, having stolen it from a dig at Sorta. The archaeologists didn't even know it was there. Unfortunately, what we hadn't counted on was that Mundi was a man with few scruples and even less brains to go with it. Either he approached Horst, or Horst approached him. One way or another, he arranged to sell the sword to that devious troll.
Only he didn't have the sword, did he? He'd concealed it in one of the crates in the cargo hold.
We didn't know that. We just knew that Mundi had gone to ground. That's why I hired you to find him.
And when I did, your cult killed him. Only you'd expected the sword to be with him. And by the time he was dead, it was too late to ask him where he'd put it.
We couldn't believe our luck when you found the sword for us after Mondi's death. I'm sorry that my master had to stab you to get it.
Did you know I was going to get killed? Was that why you made me into a werewolf?
I suspected that things would get a little rough for you, and I believed you were too valuable an asset to waste.
I'm flattered. And the counterweight killings were your cult attempting to summon Nylonathotep by mimicking the way he was summoned before. I don't get it.
With the falchion, my master can defeat the laddering horror again, and he will grow in power, ascending to the ranks of the most powerful gods, where he belongs.
That's all very well, but a lot of people died for that dream. You can't just go around killing people whenever the notion strikes you. It's not polite.
What are the lives of a few people against the prize?
Reagan knew, didn't he? Or at least suspected.
I don't know what he actually knew, but he suspected a lot. He'd been blackmailing me for weeks.
The envelope in his locker. He said he had evidence, didn't he?
I didn't know it was empty. He said he had proof, and he knew enough that I couldn't take any chances. He had to go.
Why are you telling me all this?
It's customary for the villain to explain his evil schemes when the hero is captured.
I'm no hero, and you're no villain either. We're just people.
You know it's not too late, Luton. Join us.
Join your cult. What happens if I refuse?
There's no point in refusing. It's already too late to stop the summoning of Nylonathotep. Al-Khali was the 8th murder. Even now, the other cultists are gathering at the focal point for the invocation.
That would be the temple under the Disc Theater, I take it.
You're good. I'll give you that. Let's go, or we'll miss the pre-summoning.
What if I try to stop you?
Like I said, it's already too late for that. Join us, Luton. You know it's the only choice.
I could kill you and make a run for it.
You wouldn't hurt me, would you, Luton? After all we've been through.
You arranged the murder of your own brother, and you'd have me killed too if I got in the way.
So what? In this world, you get one chance at happiness.
You may be right. All right. I'll go along with this for now. But I'm not making any promises for the future.
That's good enough for me.
Carlotta told me she would have to bind me in case I got any foolish ideas, and then she escorted me into the depths of the temple. It looked like the whole crowd was there. As well as Carlotta, I recognized Mooncalf and Warb, the wizard from Saturnalia. 8 of them in all, 1 for each person on the list. But my attention was drawn to the hulking mass of Anu Anu, and the golden sword that he was wielding like it was a toothpick.
It begins.
Take your places, people. Everyone remember your lines.
Nylonathotep, who summoned thee? In accordance with the ancient pacts, we have made 8 sacrifices in the manner prescribed. Come to us.
I was filled with an overwhelming sensation of dread. I guess summoning rituals have that effect on me.
It is here. Now I command you, by the power of the fashion, to bend to my will. Bend to my will, I command thee. I hold the fashion. You will obey me.
I got the impression that that wasn't supposed to happen. The next thing I knew, the temple was coming apart at the seams, and rocks were falling everywhere. I don't know what was wrong, but it seemed as if Anu Anu couldn't control the unspeakable force of cosmic horror that he had unleashed, and now it was loose in the city. As if my day wasn't bad enough already. After the rubble had settled, I pulled myself out from under it and had a look around. The temple seemed different somehow. And not just because the roof had caved in. Anu Anu was lying in a crumpled heap on the other side of the chamber, and Carlotta was tending to his wounds. The rest of the cult had made their getaway. Everyone but Warb, whose luck had taken a permanent turn for the worse. It looked as if part of the ceiling had rearranged most of Warb's head. The only thing of interest on Warb's body was the charm bracelet, and I didn't want to take that back. I only hope he got some good luck out of it before his final payoff came. Maybe I should have warned him. Maybe he got what he deserved. Who was I to judge? Sometimes I wondered if these ancient temples were designed to fall in on themselves at dramatic moments. I searched the rubble and uncovered the golden falchion. The sword was bad luck, but I had a feeling it was safer in my hands than anyone else's. There was something about the walls that I didn't like. I think it was the way they wouldn't stop swimming. I decided against touching the walls. An inscription had appeared on the wall. Maybe it had been there all the time and I just couldn't read it. I wasn't sure. It seemed to say, Quod nescient eos interficit. I didn't know what it meant. Quad meant what, but that was all I knew. For a god, Anu Anu was looking in a bad way. I tried to listen in to what Anu Anu was saying, but his voice was weak and faltering.
I should have known. The inscription. I forgot the inscription.
Quiet, Master. Conserve your strength.
Carlotta was obviously upset by Anu Anu's injuries. I guess there was a heart in that cold chest somewhere. Come on, Carlotta, let's get out of here before the rest of the roof comes down.
I'm not leaving my master.
He's not going to make it. You can at least save yourself.
Leave us, Luton. Leave!
You've got to get out of here.
It's all... Leave.
The terrified cultist was obviously in pain and finding it hard to walk. He wasn't going anywhere. Well, he wasn't going anywhere fast, anyway. What's up with you?
Broke my stupid leg when the roof came in.
Which one are you?
What?
Siinä
You
on
must be
kunnon
cool. How
kultisti.
did you know that?
I recognize your
Jalka
voice.
kipeä.
Now give me one good reason why I shouldn't turn you over to the watch.
Please, don't. I didn't think I was doing anything wrong. It was just a little fun, you know? Secret meetings and plots for world domination. I mean, it's intoxicating.
Well, now it's blown up in your face, and at least one member of your cult is dead.
Who was it?
Warb. He had a disagreement with a large block of stone.
I don't want to do... I'm terrified. I suspect that some of the cultists might have wanted us to fail.
Really? Why?
I don't know. Just a hunch. Please don't turn me over to the watch. I didn't do anything wrong.
8 people died because of your cult.
No. I'm sorry. I should never have got involved.
Where have the others gone?
I don't know. Back to the sanctuary, I guess. They didn't really tell me much. I was only the novice.
Maybe I was getting soft in my old age, but I couldn't escape the feeling that the poor fool was just a victim of peer pressure. I guess he just wanted to belong to something, and he didn't much care what. I sympathized, in my own way. Get going. I don't ever want to see you again.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. You won't regret this.
I'd better not. I don't know exactly what I hoped to learn from the sanctuary, but I went anyway. Maybe I was hoping that all the cultists would be as easily intimidated as Coom. I was wrong.
You're very sharp, Mr. Luton. You've done a very sharp thing. Maybe even sharp enough to cut your own throat.
You must be Kondo.
I'm flattered. How did you know?
I recognize your voice. You tried to kill me with that crossbow once before.
It's silver-tipped before you get any heroic ideas. The Dark Sect isn't as sloppy as the cult of Anu.
A cult within a cult.
We couldn't believe our luck. Mooncarve and Therma were looking for people to join their cult, and they actually wanted to summon Nylonethetet. Can you believe that? Do you have any idea how rare it is that someone wants to summon the laddering horror for anything other than wreaking havoc and destruction?
Who's we?
Oh, no, it's not that easy. Do you think I'm the overconfident villain who reveals his whole plot to the hero shortly before placing you in an overly complex life or death situation that you then escape from at the last minute?
It might make life easier if you were.
Real life isn't like the clickies, Luton. The good guys don't always win.
What makes you think I'm the good guy?
I don't care what side you're on, Luton. All I care about is that we are victorious and that everything is destroyed.
I just don't understand why anyone would want to destroy the whole of creation. If you want to die, why not just kill yourself?
I'm going to achieve something with my life, Luton. Something that no one will ever forget.
Everyone's going to be dead. No one is going to remember anything.
And that's an achievement no one else can claim.
You're insane.
That's what my psychiatrist said. I had to kill him too. He knew too much, just like you.
Some people say that when you're about to die, your life flashes before your eyes. For me, the world seemed to go into slow motion.
I told you, Luton. The good guys don't always win.
Very true, but they try much harder.
I'm dead, aren't I? Am I going to spend eternity suffering in the pits of hell for what I've done?
If that's what you want.
Oh, I can't believe I'm not going to find out how all this ends after all the work I put into it.
It's never fun being taken off a project you've worked hard on.
That's the last time I get so involved in my work.
How right you are.
When I came to, I wasn't sure if I
Kuolema
was dead
ihana.
or alive. That seemed to be happening to me a lot.
Hello again.
Have you come for me?
No. I was just passing through and I thought it would be polite to say hello. Isn't that what you're supposed to do with acquaintances?
If you want to scare them to death.
Sorry. I'm not good in social situations.
It must be hard to fit in when you're a 7-foot-tall skeleton with a scythe.
I'll see you later.
That doesn't fill me with confidence.
That, I'm afraid, is your problem.
I'd killed Kondo, but at least he hadn't killed me. On Kondo's body was an amulet. It had to be worth finding out what it was, so I took it. Kondo's amulet has a symbol on it that looked like an eye, but an eye with 3 protruding lobes. I had no idea what the symbol on the amulet meant. When I went back to the mansion, the butler had some grim news for me. The Count had shuffled off his mortal coil in the recent disc quake. He was sleeping the big sleep, pushing up daisies, crossing the final frontier, booking a vacation to the underworld. Basically, he was dead. Fortunately, he'd left provisions for me in his will. He'd pay my way to the end of the case, and more importantly, he was allowing me to continue to use the library. Well, what did it matter to him who used the library now he was gone? When you're dead, you were sleeping the big sleep, and nothing much mattered to you anymore. All the nastiness was behind you. For the rest of us, the nastiness was still all around us. And if I didn't stop that nastiness from crushing us all under its tentacles, we'd all be sleeping the big sleep. Frankly, I didn't think the afterlife would have enough beds.
Ja tuossa kartalla ei hirveän selvästi näe sitä jättiläismustekalaa, mikä siinä on ihan keskellä. Niin mä jostain luinkin, että kun nykypäivänä tätä peliä yrittää laittaa toimimaan, niin tää on vähän kuvan kontrasti on vähän synkempi, että tästä on vaikea saada selvää.
The symbol on the amulet was mentioned in a copy of The Joy of Sects. It was the three-lobed eye, the emblem of the followers of Nylanathatep, the so-called Dark Sect, who plotted nothing less than the destruction of the whole of creation. Party guys. I bet they were a lot of fun at dinner parties. The inscription had read, I worked out a translation for the phrase I'd seen on the wall of the sepulchral temple. What they don't know will kill them. Unfortunately, without something to cross-reference with it, I couldn't find out anything else about it.
Se pitäisi nimenomaan tässä näkyä. Että hyvin huonosti, mutta tossa se on.
I hadn't seen Horst since I arranged his meeting with Laredo. Wherever Horst was, he wasn't at his quarters. The Temple of Small Gods seemed deserted when I returned there. I could hear mad laughter echoing inside.
I was drawn to Mooncalf by his religious fervor. He was the kind of man who wouldn't miss a single event.
Mooncalf? Is that you?
Leave this place! Begone! All are cursed! All will be destroyed!
It was Mooncalf, all right. What happened, Mooncalf?
Mother was right. I should have become a tax collector. It's good money, Mooncalf, she said. Better than you learn with that cult foolishness. You've got to provide for your future. Now look at me. I have no future.
None of us have a future unless we can stop Nylanathatep.
Ah! Don't say that name. Don't say that name.
This amulet is the mark of that entity that you and your cult summoned. I found it on Kondo's body. Does it mean anything to you?
It means that Kondo is a traitor. He won't be the only one. They all hate me.
Kondo wasn't a follower of Anu Anu at all. He worships the laddering horror. I think he might have been mad.
Madness. Yes. Sweet singing in my ears.
Seems to be fashionable at the moment. Now listen to me. I need to know who else might have been a double agent.
Who? Who? I'll tell you who. They all hated me. Especially Foyd.
Foyd? The troll?
Yes, the troll. I never liked him. I don't trust trolls.
Where is he now?
How would I know? He wouldn't tell me. He never liked me. Nobody liked me.
Did he say anything to you?
He said he was going to change his identity, make a run for it. Such a coward. Stupid troll.
What about the rest of the cult? Where can I find them?
It's too late for everyone. Nothing can save us now.
Where's your faith? Don't you believe that Anu Anu is the god of gods?
No! I renounce my faith. Anu Anu betrayed me. He betrayed me!
Mooncalf jumped screaming through the stained glass window and began to climb the temple. I could hear Mooncalf ranting as he climbed up the outside of the temple.
I give my faith to one God, and it brings about the destruction of everything. Gods are nothing but trouble. Can't trust them. You can't trust them. We don't need them. They need us more than we need them. I'm letting atheism into my heart as my savior. I am a born-again atheist. I renounce all gods.
Ja taas kaato. Missähän mä viimeksi tällaisen? Perkele.
I don't know, maybe I... When on condos... When I went...
Mä vähän tykkään nyt tänään tosta, että kun tulee vähän pitempi välianimaatio, niin tää kaatuu. Kävihän sitä katsomassa.
The inscription had read... Kondo's amulet has...
No, toivottavasti nyt kävi kattoo, kun mä olin skippaillut tässä.
The temple... Mooncalf? What happened?
This... It means that
Kondo...
Oh. I can't believe I survived that fall.
You didn't.
Your death, then.
You've heard of me? I'm flattered.
Oh, what were the odds that I'd get hit by lightning just as I renounced all gods?
About 1 to 1, I'd say. You're not the first. Although I think you're the first to do it from the top of their own temple. Full marks for style.
Thank you, I think.
Don't mention it. I try to make the process as enjoyable as possible.
So what happens next?
That depends on you. But you've renounced all the gods, so I doubt you'll be off to any of the heavens. Or hells, for that matter.
Well, what about reincarnation? I always liked the sound of that.
Well, it's not really up to me. But if you do come back, can I advise you to be careful what you say on the top of religious monuments?
I'll see what I can do. Do you know, I don't feel so, I don't know, so dedicated anymore.
Death gives you a whole new perspective on life.
I should never have become a zealot. My mother was right. I should have been a tax collector.
Perhaps in the next lifetime, eh?
Say what you like about Mooncalf. He knew how to put on a show. Unfortunately, he hadn't left me with many leads, although finding Foyd wasn't a bad idea. I had already a lot of practice getting information out of trolls. All I had to do was work out where he was.
Tässä lopussa pitää kyllä aika paljon näkee tallennella. Tallennella, kun ei tosiaan tiedetä, kuinka tää jaksaa. No, tärkeintä on kumminkin, että se ei kaada tietokonetta.
You're back.
Back? Had I...
Here we go. So you're a sculptor then?
Yeah, something.
Why do I get the You dropped these over by Malachite's spot.
Oh, did I? Thank you. What are they?
They're bandages. Only the funny thing is, they're covered in plaster.
Really?
I suppose you were making some kind of modification to one of your statues.
Yes, that's right.
Only the funny thing is, none of the statues have changed. Perhaps you could explain that. Shall I tell you what I think? I think you're operating as an illegal plastic surgeon for trolls on the lam. Half-inch on the nose here, a bit extra on the chin. Even their own mother wouldn't know them, eh?
But I never do anything illegal, honestly.
Don't worry, I'm not going to turn you over to the watch. I just want some information.
Information?
Yeah. I know that you're not the best person to come to for information, given your memory.
Yes, that's what makes me a good plaster surgeon. I can never remember who my patients are.
You work here?
Not usually. No. I usually work wherever they need me.
But you had to do Malachite here because he didn't have anywhere to go.
Malachite. Malachite.
Oh, come on. He was right here in the workshop.
Oh, that troll. Yes, I did him.
That's what I thought. Did you work on a troll named Foyd?
Foyd.
All right, I can't give you a description. All trolls look the same to me. But if you worked on him, it'd have been recently. Have you worked on a troll in the last day or so?
Yes. I worked on someone down by the river recently.
A street name would be nice.
I'm really hopeless with names.
How do you find people's houses?
I'm really good at taking directions.
Well, where was this troll that you worked on?
You walk to the river Ankh, turn right, and then take the 3rd street on the right. It's opposite an abandoned shop.
An abandoned shop. Thanks. I think I can find that. I guess you'd better get back. The door was shut tight. Foyd, are you there?
No, there's no one named Foyd here.
Don't lie, Foyd. Firstly, I recognize your voice. And secondly, I've spoken to Rodan. Don't worry, I'm not gonna cause you any trouble. Someone had painted the sign of the eel on the floor. Foyd must have been looking for protection from the laddering horror. I guess he wasn't as stupid as he seemed. Or maybe his self-preservation was strong enough to cut through his stupidity. I could rub out the Elver sign and let Foyd take his chances, but I still had some pity left. The big, dumb troll was lying almost motionless on the floor. The floor had seen better days. All you have to do is cooperate with me, and I'll leave you alone.
Were yous followed?
No, I've got cautious about that recently.
What do you want?
Nice place you have here.
Cut the small talk. Just ask yous questions and get out.
Nice place. Does this amulet mean anything to you?
Yeah, that does look familiar. That's Satrap's.
This belongs to Satrap? Are you sure?
Sure, I'm sure. Saw it round his neck.
And where is he now?
Dunno.
I have the felch. I think it might be possible to stop Nylanethotep using the sword, but I need to know how.
Dunno. They didn't tell me nothing like that.
Are you telling me that you were part of a secret cult, but you didn't know anything that was going on?
Well, I did what Mooncalf told me most of the time.
Because he was the leader, you mean?
Well, he was the figurehead, but I don't know if he was the leader.
Then why were you following Mooncalf's instructions?
He was my contact. That's how we stayed in touch. Use contact keeps you in touch with what goes down.
I see. Everyone in the cult had a contact, right?
That's right.
So who was Satrap's contact?
That was Galid.
And where can I find Gelid?
Dunno, but I think he worked as a porter up at the university.
That's all I need to know. Thanks. Do you know what quad...
That's the thingy. Quadnescientios interficit.
The thingy? What does it mean to you?
Dunno.
I could very quickly lose patience with you, Foyd. Let's... It had been a while since I'd been to the new hall, and I had a bad feeling about what Mrs. Folmes would have to say to me if she saw me.
Mr. Luton, I was wondering if you'd turn up again.
Can I come in?
No, you're fired. Worst bedmaker I ever hired.
Listen, I have to get inside the university. There's a dangerous cult trying to destroy the city, and I need to talk to someone inside.
That's what they all say. Now goodbye and don't come back.
That wasn't what I wanted to hear.
Aha. Ei päästykään niin helpolla sinne. Okei, mihinkäs sitten?
It always looked much... When I went back to Leonard's cell, it was lacking a large part of the wall. The disc quake must have taken its toll on the palace. Leonard and two conkers were still working on the flapping wing flying device like nothing had happened. Just a few more... Does this mean anything?
That symbol is of familiarness to me. I am of fear that I cannot remember what it is to be.
Anything you remember could be useful.
The symbol is being called the Eye of Three Lobes. That much I am remembering.
Well, that's something. What do you make of this?
Where you this did get?
You recognize it?
Not sword, no. But indenting at end of handle, same shape as gold-plated jewel I is being searching for.
You're telling me that a gold-plated jewel belongs in the pommel?
It would be seeming so.
Interesting. Does the phrase quod nescient eos interficit mean anything to you?
Where is that familiar to?
You recognize it?
Yesness. It is to be the motto of one of the elder cults. I am not remembering of which.
A cult, not the cult of Anu Anu.
Oh, with sureness that is not to be so. Older cult than that even, but cannot be remembering of what.
I decided to leave. I doubted that. Can I come in?
No, go! You're
Things are looking busy in here, Nobby.
Yeah, I don't know what's come over everyone, but they're acting crazy.
Crazy? Isn't that a subjective term around here?
What?
Never mind. What sort of crazy things?
People attacking each other for no good reason. And jumping to their deaths, too. We haven't seen such carnage since the rule of Lord Snapcase. We've got riots out there, and they're not even being started by dwarves. I've never seen anything like it.
It's going to get worse.
How can you tell?
Trust me, this is only the beginning. Do you know anything about...
No.
This is a list of all the people involved in the cult of Anu Anu. They're responsible for unleashing the laddering horror on the city, and that's what's causing all the chaos and madness at the moment. You have to help me to round them up.
Okay. I'll bear that in mind.
You're not taking me at all seriously, are you?
No, really. I believe you. It's just, well, I've got a lot of paperwork to do.
This city could be destroyed and you're worried about paperwork?
Somebody has to do it. You couldn't have the end of the world without paperwork, could you? It'd be chaos.
No ei se väärässä kyllä ole. Että...
This amulet belongs to members of the cult of Nylon Athatep. They're trying to destroy the whole of creation. You've got to help me. Are you feeling okay, Luton? Sometimes being killed can affect people in a funny way. I'm not mad! No, of course not. You're just under a lot of pressure. What with being dead and everything. I'd only been dead for 5 minutes and already I was learning to hate the living. I need to get into the unseen university, and I want you to help me do it. How? Can't you get me some kind of warrant or something? No, absolutely not. Vimes would go spare if he knew I'd given a search warrant to you. A search warrant? Yeah, it's a piece of parchment from the patrician allowing us to search a premises. Or is that a premise? Well, I need one. I can't do it, Luton. It's more than my job's worth. The survival of the city might depend on it. You'd say anything just to get your own way. All right, if that's the way it's going to be. How did you get into my office the other day, Nobby? The door was open. No, it wasn't. I always lock my door. In that neighborhood, my coffee maker wouldn't last 10 minutes if I didn't. Well, I found my way in. Let's just leave it at that, eh? How would Vimes feel if he learned that you'd been breaking and entering onto private property just to fill your own pockets? You're not going to tell him, are you, Luton? He'd go spare. Well, you scratch my back and I'll scratch yours. What would I want my back scratched for? I mean, I'll ignore your transgression if you get me a warrant to let me into the university. I don't know about this, Luton. I think... Act now. You can think about it later. Okay. Wait here. Well, if I couldn't count on him as a friend, I could always count on him as a coward. Don't get out before somebody sees you. Consider me gone. Catch you later. Yeah. Open up! Open up!
Hold on. What is it? Oh, it's you.
I have here a signed parchment from the Oblong office allowing me access to university grounds.
Let me see that.
You'll see it's completely in order.
All right, you can come inside. Where did you get this from?
I'm a private investigator. I got this through legitimate channels.
What sort of legitimate channels?
That's not for me to discuss.
This is most aggravating. Right, here's what's going to happen. You wait here, and I'm going to go and have a word with the watch. If this checks out, then I won't have any choice but to let you in. And if it doesn't, I'll be back with the watch to have you arrested. Is that clear?
Perfectly.
Don't touch anything, don't go anywhere. Do I make myself clear?
Perfectly.
I don't like you, Luton, and I don't trust you. But you'd better not cross me on this. I'll be back shortly.
I look forward to it. Sheesh. What did she think she'd do to me? Choke me with a duster? Now to find Gelid. I'd have to be fast. There was no telling what Foams would do when she got back. I certainly couldn't count on Nobby to back me up when the old battle axe came storming into the watch house. I couldn't. I found the Bledlow's body by the observatory. No attempt had
nyt
been
vähän
made to hide
skippaskin.
it. I don't think the murderer cared. I could hear voices coming from inside the observatory, and even though my better judgment said to stay away, my curiosity drew me on. I hoped there was a limitation to how many times curiosity could kill the werewolf. I made my way into the observatory, and inside was a wizard whose voice I recognized. Satrap. I wasn't sure what he was doing, but it couldn't be good.
The stars are right! A bit further! Now, left! Left a bit!
A golem was operating the cranks for the observatory's main telescope, and Satrap was calling out instructions. I guess he was looking for something.
Mr. Luton, do come in. I've been expecting you.
You've been using your magic to spy on me?
No, I saw you through the telescope.
Mind telling me what you're doing?
Oh, the same as everyone else. Waiting for the end of all creation.
All creation?
Well, Nylon Athertep might only destroy Ankh-Morpork to begin with, but I'm sure it will get around to destroying everything sooner or later. It's all just a matter of time.
So you're the leader of the dark sect of Nylon Athertep, then?
Luton, I am the dark sect. They would be nothing without me.
And you're a wizard?
The professor of astrology, as it happens. I acquired the job only recently, although it has been empty for a while. Mathom was interested in the post, but I was fortunate enough to dispose of him as part of the summoning ritual.
So there was some internal politics involved in that murder?
Oh, make no mistake. Most of those 8 murders served another purpose. People don't become cultists because they want to help the gods out. They know that it's a good way to get what they want and to justify whatever unspeakable acts they want by blaming it on a god.
Carlotta needed Reagan killed because he was blackmailing her, and Mundy had the sword. What about the merchant Gaimin?
He and Kondo never got on. For all I know, there were reasons that the other people were chosen as well. It's often the way of these things.
Kondo's dead. I killed him.
Well, that'll be one less thing for Nylon Athertep to do when he gets here.
How many of the cultists were secretly in the dark sect?
Only myself and Kondo. But Foyd was easily manipulated to our ends as well. He rarely had any idea what was going on. We just used him because it suited our purposes to do so. Foyd couldn't have told anyone what we were doing because he only barely understood anything that was going on around him.
What about Gelid? Did you kill him?
Yes, he had to be removed. He was still loyal to Anu Anu, and he had outlived his usefulness.
What have you done with Carlotta?
As far as I know, she's still tending the wounds of that wretched excuse for a god.
You pulled the wool over her eyes, didn't you? Pretending to worship Anu Anu.
The wool? I pulled the whole sheep.
Was Horst somehow involved in your plans?
Horst? Ha! Without Horst, we'd have never got Monday staying in the Octarine Parrot. The trouble with trying to murder in a geometric shape is you're really quite restricted as to where you can work.
So how come Horst's name isn't on the list?
He's not a cultist, Luton. He's just a greedy troll who thought helping us would get him the sword.
Instead, it's going to get him and everyone else killed.
I really think you should have let me say that. I mean, you say it in such a disappointing fashion. I can deliver lines like that with much greater dramatic effect.
You're a vain, arrogant, dangerous man, Satrap.
Thank you.
This whole plan is crazy, Satrap. No one in their right mind plots such mindless destruction on such a large scale. You need help.
I have all the help I need, Luton. I have Nylonathotep.
It's not helping you. It wouldn't help anyone. It is totally evil.
Evil? No. I will not accept that. It is conditioned simply to survive, and it can survive only by dominating all other life. When all other life is suppressed, then we will have peace. Wars will end. It is a power not of evil, but of good.
Satrap, if you had created a spell that could destroy all forms of life, would sweep throughout the disk and leave nothing in its wake, would you allow its use?
It is an interesting conjecture.
But would you do it?
Yes. Yes. To hold in my hand a scroll that contained such power. To know that life, death on such a scale, was my choice. To know that the faintest of breaths speaking those words would end everything. Yes! Yes! I would do it. That power would set me up among the gods, and through Nylonathotep, I have that power!
You're deranged, Satrap. I thought Mooncalf was bad, but you take the honors. I can't allow this to continue. I have to stop you.
You cannot stop me now! I'm invincible!
Give it up, Satrap. It's over. I pursued Satrap up onto the roof. His robes were rank with the stench of Gelid's blood, and I couldn't control myself. The next thing I knew, Satrap's body was tumbling down the roof into a crumpled heap below.
Get down here! This isn't over! Don't turn away from me while I'm talking to you! Come back! This isn't over!
It is for you.
Oh, black spectre of the cold sleep of death. Leave me, your humble servant, so that I can witness the destruction I have wrought in thy name.
Wrought in thy name? You should get out more often, Satrap.
I live to serve you.
Really? Any good at making curry?
No. But I am causing death and destruction on a scale as yet unprecedented.
And you think that makes me happy? I'm not the god of death, you know. I'm just death. I'm just providing a service. There are times, you know, when I get really annoyed by you mortals.
Does that mean I'm going to be punished for all eternity?
If that's what you want.
Isn't there some way I can bargain with you?
Nothing springs to mind.
Surely someone has found a way to attempt to avoid the final curtain?
Well, people sometimes challenge me to a game.
Do they ever win?
No. But someone once challenged me to that one where you knock a little ball out of a hole. Flog, I think it was called.
What sort of game is that?
A really stupid one to play against a person who spends every second working on his swing.
Can I play you at it?
If you like. Last time I got a birdie on the 18th. But it was its own fault for flying so low.
I'll do anything to save my life. Whatever you ask.
You're afraid of dying, aren't you?
I didn't think I would be. But I was wrong.
Here. Take my hand. There's nothing to worry about. The hard part is over.
Why are you being so nice to me? I tried to destroy all of creation.
Well, nobody's perfect.
Nyt mä tykkään tosta kuolemasta.
I worked out a translation for the phrase, what they don't, unfortunately. I had a look through the Necrotelecomnicon discussed. It wasn't long before I found the phrase that had been inscribed on the wall of the sepulchral temple. Quod nescient eos interficit. It turned out to be the motto of an ancient cult, the dark sect of Nylonathotep, whose emblem was the triple-lobed eye. The tome told me a little of the history of the cult. It seems the mad cultists of the Laddering Horror had conspired to destroy all creation, but their attempt failed. Obviously. And they were believed to have faded into obscurity. I had a suspicion that's exactly what the cult wanted people to think. According to the book, the cult had a sacred artifact, a source of great power known as the Radiant Trapezohedron, which could destroy Nylonathotep or give him dominion over all things, if it fell into his tentacles. There was no description of it, although the author seemed to think it was something small. There was something about a cult plotting to destroy all creation that disturbed me. I had a feeling you couldn't reason with people like that. I looked for another reference to the Radiant Trapezohedron and found it in the Encyclopedia Tennius. Apparently, 400 years ago, the Order of the Sacred Tulip swore to find the trapezohedron and prevent it from falling into the hands of the Dark Sect. Legend had it that one knight swore to never rest until he was sure it could never fall into the hands of the Dark Sect. According to the encyclopedia, he eventually found the trapezohedron and brought it to Ankh-Morpork, where he was buried alongside it. It always looked much easier. Just a few more questions, if you wouldn't mind. Have you heard of the Radiant Trapezohedron?
What is this being?
Well, I don't really know. It's a source of great power. That's the only thing I'm sure about.
What is being a trapezohedron to mean?
It's a type of crystal in which all the faces are trapeziums.
And a trapezium?
A type of quadrilateral with no parallel sides.
No, that's a trapezoid.
No, a trapezoid has two parallel sides of different lengths.
That's a trapezium.
No, it's not.
Where are your family from anywhere near Genua?
My grandfather was. What's that got to do with anything?
genuine geometry has slightly different definitions to Theban geometry. I tend to go by Legibus's definitions in his geometries. Have you read it?
This trapezohedron.
Trapezohedron.
All sides would be consisting of squashed squares.
Well, that's a slightly crude summary, but essentially correct.
That's it! That's the jewel I am being seeking.
Really?
Much yesness. Just like that is being, but with gold platings.
And you were looking for this, right? How close were you to finding it?
I am of some sureness that it is to being in Ankh-Morpork, and I am of the believing that this arrangement of stars is of great importantude in its discoverage.
Can I see that?
Please, take if you wishing. I am not to be having much chances to look myself now. I would be of delighted nature if you would continue the looking for me.
Two Conkers had given me a star map that was supposed to lead to the jewel he was looking for. I looked at the star map and back to the mosaics. The map seemed to include a constellation. All I had to do was find out which one and tell the golem to move the telescope to look at it. Well, it was a plan of sorts. I guess the flying moose might be on the map. It was hard to be sure. Turn the telescope to face the flying moose. I couldn't do too much, although if the flying moose was pointing towards anything, it wasn't in the city. I could probably use the astrolabe to navigate with the map, but I'd need to know where I was supposed to be looking first. I suppose the small, boring group of faint stars might have been on the map, but if they were, they'd been drawn much brighter than they really were. Swing the telescope around to face the small, boring group of faint stars. The stars seemed to be pointing at the Selachi Mausoleum. If the map was right, the jewel was somewhere inside. I used the astrolabe to see exactly where Two Conker's map pointed. They seem to be indicating a grotesque in the entrance chamber. I don't know who thought it was tasteful to make carved statues that were part human and part mythical beast, but frankly, I thought they looked awful. I searched the grotesque carefully and concluded that it was a cover stone for something underground. I pushed it, opening up the crypt below. The stale air told me that this chamber hadn't been visited in hundreds of years. In the gloom, I could make out a single sarcophagus. The sarcophagus didn't look like any recent design. In fact, I was surprised to see one in Ankh-Morpork at all. It must have been imported from somewhere. On the sarcophagus was a circular indentation with a square peg coming out of it. Mundy's coin fitted the indentation perfectly, and with it I could easily turn.
No niin, eiköhän yritän pelata tätä tänään läpi. Se ei vaan nyt tänään tahdo oikein toimia.
I searched the grotesque. I pushed it. The stick in the. Mundy's coin fitted the indentation perfectly, and with it I could easily turn the peg. There was a faint click, and the sarcophagus opened. Inside the sarcophagus was a suit of armor, grasping a glowing gem that could only be the radiant trapezohedron. I wasn't expecting the armor to burst into life, though.
Mä oon ihan lopussa jo tässä.
400 years I wait for you to come and let me out. And the first thing you do is cut my arm off. It'll take ages to sew back on.
I'm sorry. I just sort of acted reflexively.
So you instinctively cut the arm off people you meet?
If they come bursting out of a coffin, yes.
It's a sarcophagus. A very nice sarcophagus. Donated to the order by some nice people in Jelly Baby.
And you're vitally impaired.
Vitally impaired? What's that supposed to mean? Hmm? Call a spade a spade. I'm a zombie. Right.
If that's the way you want it, I need that jewel.
I'm sure you do. But first, you must answer the riddle and prove your worth.
The riddle?
Indeed. Are you ready, mortal?
This is ridiculous. I'm in a real hurry and I need that jewel.
Oh, please. I've been here for 400 years. Please let me ask the riddle.
Make it fast.
All right. What is
Ei mennyt ihan niinku Strömsössä nyt.
Well, it has been 400 years. You see how good your memory is after 4 centuries. Especially when you got mice.
Can I have the jewel or not?
No. I have to ask the riddle. How else am I going to know if you're a follower of the dark cults?
Let me get this straight. You can tell if I'm a follower of the dark cults by whether or not I can answer a riddle.
Absolutely.
So how does that work, then? Are the forces of darkness incapable of answering riddles?
I'm sure the gods would never allow the unworthy to gain control of this.
Interesting theory. Look, I need that jewel, and you're just going to have to find a way to give it to me.
The Order decided that we'd ask a riddle to determine the worthiness of anyone petitioning for the trapezohedron. I have to ask a riddle.
Look, I have the golden falchion. Surely that counts for something.
Oh, I knew you had the sword, but that's no help. If you're on the side of darkness and you have the falchion, then I definitely can't give you the jewel.
How did you know I had the sword?
I saw you coming in the jewel.
Really? Did you see anything else?
Oh, I've been watching the progress of the sword since I got here.
In which case you must have seen Mundy hide the sword in the crate, and me recover it from Vault 51.
Yes, I did.
So, you saw me killed by Anu Anu.
Oh, yeah. That big dog creature. How did you survive that, by the way?
Carlotta had turned me into a werewolf.
I thought it might be something like that. They never give you the whole story with those cliffhanger endings. I remember 200 years ago when I saw someone go off the cliff in a cart. Only it turned out he actually leapt clear at the last minute. I call that cheating.
Anyway, did you see when Anu Anu summoned Nylonathotep?
Oh, I see. That's what the big cosmic horror was then.
What did you think it was?
Well, I thought it might just have been fog. The reception in here isn't very good.
If you saw all that, you must know that I'm not with the forces of darkness.
Hang on. You were there when this cosmic horror was summoned?
Yes.
Then why didn't you stop it?
I was being restrained. Come on, just give me the jewel.
No can do.
You saw me defeat Satrap, wasn't that enough? Didn't you hear what he said?
No sound with the jewel, I'm afraid. You just get pictures.
Do you know what's most ridiculous about this? If I was with the Dark Sect, I'd just use the sword to kill you, and then just run off with the jewel.
You know, that's a very good point.
So I'll tell you what I'll do. Either give me the jewel freely, or I'll pretend I'm with the Dark Sects and I'll just take it.
You're not leaving me many options.
Jewel, please.
Here you go.
Thank you. And may I say, I hope the next 400 years just fly by. Horst, I was wondering where you had got to.
Then we have been engaged in similar pastimes.
Luton.
Ilsa.
As you can see, I have been forced to take more drastic action. I dislike having to take such radical steps, but since the untimely demise of Mr. Alcali, I no longer have the luxury of observing events from afar.
Let her go, Horst.
Let her go, Mr. Luton? You make it sound as if she is my prisoner. I am merely keeping her well protected against the more hostile elements of this wretched settlement.
Let her go.
That is precisely my intention, Mr. Luton. But first, you must fulfill your agreement with me.
You want the sword.
Indeed. You agreed to bring me the sword, and I'm here to collect.
No deal, Horst. I need the sword to stop Nylonethotep.
Indeed. And what might that be, sir?
It's a creature from the dungeon dimensions, and it's loose in Ankh-Morpork.
That's his maybe. It still doesn't change our agreement. You promised me the sword, sir, and I am here to collect.
If I give you the sword, thousands will die.
Oh, come now. The world is full of people. What are the lives of those insignificant specks compared to our own desires? We, sir, are a breed apart from most people. We see what we want, and we take it. If a few tiny lights have to be extinguished to achieve our goals, then that is unfortunate. But it is of little consequence.
We're not talking about a few lights. We're talking about a few thousand lights. Maybe hundreds of thousands.
Then we will have to learn to live in the dark.
I can't do it, Horst.
Oh dear. I thought you were a man of your word, sir, but it seems I was mistaken. Very well. Then I am forced to take more drastic action. I don't know how much pressure it would take from my fingers to suffocate the young lady here. And I'm not entirely sure that I wouldn't apply slightly too much pressure and snap her spine. However, you have forced me to experiment.
Luton.
All right, Horst. You win. Let her go.
Excellent. I thought you were a man of reason, sir, and I was right. I admire a man who is not so stubborn as to throw away what he values just for his stubborn pride.
You've got what you wanted, now let her go! I took Ilsa back to my office. What other choice did I have? I felt so stupid, giving Horst the sword and staying with Ilsa as the troll disappeared into the night's fog. But even if I'd tried to follow him, the dark magenta stench of Nylonethotep drowned out every other scent in the city. There was nothing I could do. After we'd both calmed down, I told her everything that had happened.
So Satrap was looking for Tukonka's jewel.
That jewel is known as the Radiant Trapezohedron, and I think it can save the city, but I have a nasty suspicion that we need this sword as well.
The Radiant Trapezohedron. Yes, it never occurred to me that they would be the same. The descriptions of the trapezohedron are vague at best. Satrap must have been trying to immanentize the Garunan Eschaton.
Can you try that again without sneezing?
The Garunan Eschaton is one of the many myths concerning the end of the Discworld. It's very obscure.
What's it about?
It tells how some of the entities from the dungeon dimensions have been trapped around the Discworld. Some in the lost city of Leshp, some in the heart of the Garuna Trench, some in places men don't even have names for. When the Eschaton occurs, they are supposed to be released from their captivity and destroy everything they can get their tentacles on. The usual thing.
Well, Nylonethotep is loose. Maybe this is it. Maybe this is the end of everything. Maybe it's a good time to borrow lots of money.
Luton, I heard you'd been killed. I saw your grave.
I heal quickly.
I left a letter by your graveside.
I know. I saw it.
I wrote it when I had to leave you all those years ago, but I never had the courage to send it to you. I didn't know how to tell you that I was married.
To two conquerors.
Yes, he needs me, Luton. He always did. And in a strange way, I need him too. He gave my life meaning. I had nothing before I met him.
None of that matters anymore.
You never told me how you felt.
What's to tell? I was born when you kissed me, and I died when you left me. I lived a few weeks while you loved me. Of course, I also died when I got stabbed in the back, but you know, that wasn't nearly as painful.
I'm sorry.
I bet you never thought of me as a man who could fall in love.
I never thought about you at all. I couldn't. If I had, it would have driven me mad.
I thought about you every day, until I'd drunk enough to forget. I let my life slide till there was nothing left to live for but bitterness. Well, all that's going to change. I'm going to save this city if I have to die again to do it. And I'm not going to do it for you, or for me, or for the worthless people who live in it. I'm going to do it to prove for once and for all that I'm not the washed-up loser everyone thinks I am. And if it turns out that I am, then everything will get destroyed and no one will know about it. So hey, from where I stand, there's no downside.
What are you going to do?
First of all, we have to find Horst.
How?
I have no idea. I peered deeply into the trapezohedron, and I could see an image of Horst with the golden sword. It looked like he was at the Maudlin Bridge. I took a few precautions and then headed down to the Maudlin Bridge to check it out. The image in the trapezohedron turned out to be right. Horst was at the Maudlin Bridge, and he wasn't alone. He and our mutual acquaintance seemed to be in some sort of dispute.
What happened to our agreement, Horst? We were supposed to be working together.
Really, madam? Then why was it that you arranged for Monday to sell the sword to you, and you alone?
Just because I didn't trust Alkali as a courier didn't mean I broke the agreement.
And I suppose you're going to deny that you were involved in his death?
I couldn't stop his death, but that doesn't mean I caused it.
Doesn't it?
What about you? It was you who set Malachite after me, wasn't it?
I thought you might appreciate being reunited with your estranged brother.
You sent him after me to try and slow me down.
You are the betrayer among us, madam. Don't try and substitute me as the villain of the piece. Yes, I freed Malachite, and yes, I used him to slow down you and Mr. Luton. But you were the one who arranged his death.
I didn't arrange his death. He was just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
And you put him there.
I'm not here to debate the details with you, Horst.
Why are you here?
Give me the sword.
After all I've risked to get hold of it? No. As soon as my launch arrives, I will be taking the sword away from this god's-forsaken city. If you want, you can have a small share of the profits. I am not ungrateful for your assistance in this endeavor, but that is all I'm prepared to offer.
Why, you miserable excuse for a troll!
Oh, come now. I could snap your neck like a twig if I wanted to, but I'm not going to, because there's nothing to be gained from doing it.
Listen, Horst. Either give me the sword, or kill me. Because one way or another, I won't allow you to leave town with the sword.
As you wish.
I didn't think of myself as a murderer, but I wasn't about to stand by and watch Horst try to kill Carlotta. It was over in a flash. I don't even know how it happened.
He's better off dead.
Is that all you can say about him?
He was some kind of a troll. What does it matter what you say about trolls?
What now?
We have to get out of the city.
Can't we stop it?
It's too late for that. Right now, Nylonathotep is opening a portal to the dungeon dimensions above the city. When it grows large enough, everything will be destroyed.
I have the trapezohedron. Doesn't that help?
It means Nylonathotep won't be powerful enough to destroy more than just the Circle C. And if we leave now, we can get away before the worst of the destruction.
I'm not leaving the city. It's my home. It's not much of a home, but it's all I've got.
You've got me, Luton. Come with me. I'll renounce the cult, and we can run free in the hills of Ubervold.
It's not that I don't have feelings for you, Carlotta. I do. It's just that I don't trust you. You murdered your own brother. You'd have killed me if I'd got in the way.
So what? So I'm no good. I'm no worse than anybody else. Think about it, Luton. You, me, the wide-open spaces of Ubervold. Or you can stay here and die with the rest of the rabble. Don't be a fool, Luton. Join me.
I can't. I'm sorry, Carlotta, but there's only one way this can end.
You're turning me over to the Watch?
I'd like to be able to run away with you, turn my back on the city, and just escape it all. But face it, Carlotta, I'd be dead in a week. Thanks for coming, Nabi.
Hey, what are friends for? Mrs. Carlotta von Uberwald? I'm arresting you for conspiracy, accessory to murder, attempted herbicide, and for being bloody stupid. You don't have to say anything. But if you say not guilty, we're liable to kill ourselves laughing.
Oh, you'll regret this, Luton. Nothing's going to save you now. The only way to stop the destruction of the city would be to take the Falchion into the portal. And I hope you try.
As he left, Vimes fixed me in his eyes, as if to say that this didn't make up for what I did all those years ago. But I didn't care about that. This wasn't about the past. It was about the future. I looked down at the hulking corpse of Jasper Horst in the river mud, and I wondered if I'd done the right thing. But life's too short for regrets, and if I didn't stop Nylon Athatep soon, it would be too short for a shot of whiskey, and that wasn't any sort of life I wanted. Somehow, I had to get the Falchion into the portal before it was too late. Time was short. I had to reach that portal somehow. The question was, how? It always looked much easier. The contraption that Leonard and two conkers had been working on was my only chance.
Well, it's finished. Now all we have to do is fly it.
And I'm volunteering.
Ah, hello again. You want to be the person in the seat that guides the device?
I'm going to have to be.
We still need somewhere long and flat to launch it from.
I'll see what I can do. It didn't take me long to get the roof clear of rubble. I hope there was no one down below when it hit the ground. I've cleared the rubble off the roof. Can we launch this from there?
It might just work.
Give me a hand moving it out there and we'll see what happens. Seconds before I could launch, Ilsa came flying down the rooftop.
Wait!
What are you doing here? How did you find me?
Luton, you can see this device from halfway across the city. All you have to do is look up.
Why did you stop me?
You're going to try and stop Nylonathatep in this?
It's all I've got. Carlotta said if I took the sword into the portal, I could stop it.
You can't go up against a creature from the dungeon dimensions without some sort of protection.
Protection? Like what?
I don't know, but you need something.
All right, I'll see what I can do. The trapezohedron fitted into the pommel perfectly, but I... I inscribed the sign of the eel on the side of the flapping wing flying device. I hoped it was enough protection. I was going to need all the help I could get.
Tallentaa vielä kerran, että jos tää kaatuu.
This is it, Ilsa. I
Tää on
have
ihan
my protection.
loppua.
Wish me luck.
This is crazy, Luton. It's suicide.
I know, but I have to do it. I'm the only one who can. Now, wish me luck.
No nyt sen näkee sen, millainen siellä on.
I slotted the trapezohedron into the sword and steered the flying machine towards the portal, pedaling as fast as my tired little legs could manage. I kept flying onwards, the sky full of flame and thunder. It was a 1,000,000 to 1 chance that I could land it safely. But on the Discworld, 1,000,000 to 1 chances happen 9 times out of 10.
Nice landing, Luton.
Who do you think you are? My guardian angel?
I lost my wings a long time ago.
I can see I'm going to have to get used to finding you where I least expect.
Yeah, sounds about right.
My original launch had attracted a lot of attention. I'd saved the city. But that didn't change things with Remora. If I didn't get out of the city, there was no telling what he'd do to me. Two Conkers, get the flapping wing flying device ready. It's going on another flight. Oh, as you are wishing.
Where are you going?
I'm not going anywhere, but you are. The Assassin's Guild still has a contract out on your husband's head, and they won't stop until he's dead.
Let him go. I'll stay here with you.
I can't offer you much of a life, but he can.
I love you, Luton.
Yeah, I know. But love isn't always enough. If you don't get on that flying machine, you'll regret it. Maybe not today. Maybe not tomorrow. But soon. And for the rest of your life. Which won't be very long if the Assassin's Guild catches you.
What about us?
We'll always have the Hotel Pseudopolis. We didn't for a while. We lost it. But we got it back. And no one can take that away from us. Here's looking at you, Ilsa. Well, it's over. I don't know. It doesn't make much sense to me.
You really loved her, didn't you? Well, don't ask me either. I mean, I'm a species that thinks someone's leg is an object of desire.
Thanks, Gaspard. You know, this could be the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Don't push your luck, sonny boy.
Että sellainen. No, keksi mitään muuta sanottavaa.